Hey there, Bruins fans! Welcome back to BNG Hockey, where it's always black and gold. In my last video, I talk about all of the Bruins trade deadline targets, so make sure you go check that out if you haven't already. But I don't spend too much time talking about the possibility of Jumbo Joe Thornton coming back to Boston. Honestly, at first glance, I was like, no thanks, moving on. I said in my video that I would only go for Thornton if I could trade them back as 1-for-1. Other than that, I'm really not interested. But as I took a deeper dive into the stats, and as I started seeing them pop up from really reliable sources still being linked to the Bruins, I gotta admit, I kind of like it. Now, I want to make it very clear that I don't think getting Joe Thornton solves all of the Bruins' forward problems. You absolutely still need to go after a top 6 forward. That's why I put this visual up here for those of you who weren't listening to what I just said. Joe Thornton belongs in the bottom 6. As shown here in this graphic, I still have them going after a guy like a Chris Kreider or an Andrzej Kasha or a Tyler Toffoli. I just think that why not? Go after Joe Thornton and add him to the bottom 6 along with the top 6 forward. Sean Kuraly has been playing wing with Coyle and Bjork and has looked great there, so you don't really need to have him stapled at 4th line center. He's proven that he can play other positions. Danton Heinen could fill in there, but I feel like he might be moved for one of those wingers, or for Joe Thornton maybe. So I don't have him in the projected lineup, and I know that will probably make a lot of Bruins fans very happy. Take a look at this lineup down the middle. Bergeron, Krejci, Coyle, and Thornton. Joe Thornton would be 8th on the Bruins in scoring and 7th among forwards. That's pretty good, especially on your 4th line. Now, he only has 2 goals, but he's never been a huge goal scorer, so I'm not surprised by that. If you put him on the second power play with his playmaking ability, with guys like Charlie Coyle and David Krejci and Matt Grzelcyk and McAvoy, I think he would do well. I think he would give you some solid production. And if he doesn't cost you that much, like let's say you only have to give up a 4th round pick, or you have to give up just Danton Heinen, or maybe you do a package of Heinen and more and get Dillon and Thornton back, I would go for that. I don't think these lines look that terrible. If the Bruins add to the top 6 and get Thornton, they're only getting more depth, which is what this team desperately needs. Not to mention, God forbid, if there's any injuries to Bergeron, Krejci, or Coyle, Thornton could fill in the top 6 way better than a guy like a Sean Kuraly because he's played there his whole career. So that's just another little plus to adding Thornton. So now that we've seen the projected lineup, I want to talk about what I expect from Joe Thornton. He would be on the 4th line, so he'd be playing anywhere between 10 and 12 minutes at the most. Currently, he's playing anywhere between 16 and 19 minutes, so you would cut his time significantly, and I think that would be really beneficial for an old forward like Thornton. He's producing right now, playing 19 minutes, so with that much more rest, I think you would see even more production out of him. He could play in the second power play, as I said before. He has tremendous playmaking ability, and say what you want about Thornton, this guy has been around. He's played a lot of games and has a lot of experience. And lastly, I think it would help the Bruins quite a bit in the playoffs, even though he's never won Lord Stanley. Why do I think Joe Thornton will help them in the playoffs? Well, unfortunately, we have to take a look at the St. Louis Blues. They were not the fastest team. They were definitely not the slowest team. But whenever an old forward like Thornton is brought up, all you hear is, he can't skate. He doesn't have speed. You can't have a guy without speed. It's all about speed, 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 speed. Yes, in the regular season. We all know that during playoff time, it is an entirely different sport. It gets slowed down, there's a lot less space, and suddenly a guy who scores 2 goals can be your hero. We saw Pat Maroon scoring huge goals for the St. Louis Blues. That guy is a 4th line bum. I like Pat Maroon, but you wouldn't talk about him like you do in the playoffs. He suddenly becomes an asset when he only has to play 7 games instead of 70 games. It all evens out in the playoffs. Guys like Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak are on the same level as a Wagner, a Nordstrom, and a Kuraly. They're getting the same chances because everything is tightened up. Why do you think when the Bruins won the Cup, one of their best lines was Paille, Campbell, and Sean Thornton? Those are not all-star level guys, but they can compete and bring it, and when there's less space, they thrive off of that. Joe Thornton has a lot of experience. If you don't love him or you don't love his style, he's played as many games as only Marlowe and Chara. So if you have two guys on your team with that much experience, that has got to help you. You know that Joe Thornton is dying to win a cup. He's going to retire any year now. The interesting thing with Thornton as well, he has a no movement clause. So if he's going to get traded out, he's basically choosing where he's going to get picked. So you don't have to worry about the Bruins overpaying because there's not going to be a bidding war if the Colorado Avalanche try and give up a first-round pick, which they would never do, just so he doesn't go to the Bruins. But Joe Thornton doesn't want to go to the Avalanche. He's not going to the Avalanche. So Thornton would have to pick where he would go. And he's going to pick a cup contender. He's not going to leave San Jose, a place that he loves, just to go to the Ottawa Senators. That's not happening. He would leave to get a chance at a Stanley Cup. So that's a select group of the Bruins, the Capitals, the Lightning, and it's been rumored that he's been interested in the Maple Leafs, but I don't think he would be a great fit there, and the Leafs aren't even a playoff team. So if Thornton's going to get moved, it's looking like Boston is a real possibility. And I just want you guys to kind of take a minute, step back, not think about the speed, think about his overall game and what it would be like having a guy with 24 points as your fourth line center. It's not so bad. That's all I got for you in this one. I want to know your thoughts. Do you want to have Joe Thornton as a Boston Bruin? Let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like, and if you haven't already, subscribe.